All right, everybody. So I wanted to go over the problems that were on the quiz. I'll kind of skip around between the two different versions. If you do end up doing a retake, you'll have a different version to do on that. So, how many significant figures do each of the numbers have? This one's only got two significant figures because zeros don't count on a whole number. This next one has five significant figures because when zeros are after the decimal, they're communicating that you were able to measure super precisely. So the zeros after the decimal are significant. One way to think about it is if they weren't significant, I would have just written 35 as a whole number. If I wanted you to think of two significant figures, I would have just written 35. But I wrote 0.000, so it must mean something. It's going to be significant. This also has five significant figures because the zeros are captive in between non-zero numbers. Somebody wrote that on their quiz. I liked captive. And this is six significant figures because I wrote the zero at the end. If it wasn't significant, I wouldn't have written it. I'm going to go down and do question 2 from version B. All right, a lot of people missed number part A here. The upper and lower bounds are 650 less than or equal to x to 750. Why? Because I only had one significant figure. The number 700 has one significant figure. So I'm rounding it to numbers that have two significant figures. The 700 means I could only measure to the closest 100. So anything in between 650 and 750 would get rounded to 700. Now look at part B. Part B has four significant figures. So my bounds need to have one more significant figure. My bounds need to have five significant figures. That's the smallest number that would get rounded to 700.0. Whatever your original number has, your bounds need to be one step more precise. So that's less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 700.05. Remember, your upper bound here has to copy down the original number plus a 5 on the end. Okay. Now, part C, it would be 987.35 less than x less than 987.45. Most people got these last two ones correct. So it's really parts A and B that were a little bit tricky. So 0.115 less than or equal to x less than 0.00125. All right, I'm going to go back up to version A to do question 3. Oops, I'm going to do this first. There we go. All right, so question 3. Measured a yard is 100 centimeters. That's my approximate VA. True value is 91.44 VE. Remember a percent error. VA minus VE over VE. I'm just subtracting to see how far off I was and then dividing to get it as a percent. So I go 100 minus 91.44 divided by 91.44. I make sure the answer is positive, and I move the decimal 2 places over. So on a yellow calculator, you can do it slightly differently. I just have my phone with me right now. So 100 minus 91.44, I do that first. Then I divide by 91.44. Oops, let's try that again. There's my first step, divide by 91.44. There's my second step. It's a positive number, so I don't need to worry about the absolute value bars. Multiply by 100. There's my final answer. Now I'm going to go three significant figures, and I'm going to make sure that I write down that this is a percent. Because you don't want to tell me 9.36 without putting the percent on the end, because that would technically mean 936%. So just be careful with that. All right. Last one. Just a second. All right, going down to the exponent laws down here. For part 4, I can add the 5 and the 3 to make 5 to the 8th. For B, I can multiply the 5 and the 4 to make 20. For part C, anything raised to the 0 power is 1, unless it's 0 to the 0, but we're not going to worry about that here. For part D, I can do it in a couple different ways. One way is to add the 2 powers that are on the top, and then subtract the 2 powers that are in the fraction, leaving it as 3 to the negative 3. All right, last one, question 5 on part A. I'm going to convert from scientific notation. So when it's a positive power, I know I'm going to have a big number. So I'm going to move that decimal 5 spaces in the big direction, 135,000. When it's a negative power, I move it 4 spaces in the small direction. So I'm going to have 3 zeros before the rest of my digits. When I'm converting the other way, I want to put the decimal right there. That looks like it needed to be moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. So I write 5.96342 times 10 to the 5th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And last one, need to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, but it's a small number. So I write 3.42 times 10 to the negative 4. So there you go. Please comment or ask questions if there's anything I can do. And if it didn't go so hot, that's okay. You'll do another version as a retake. Thank you.